The news on Vanguard Live. I am Precious Chukudi. We begin with the front pages of the paper this morning, starting off with Vanguard, and Vanguard is leading with Governor's kick as Buhari accuses them of stealing local government funds. The writer says, autumn not stealing local government funds. Benue replies, federal government. Buhari's accusation does not apply to us. That's coming from Kwara Rivers Ebonyi government. We don't tamper with local government funds. That's what Ogun government is saying. Plateau treats local governments fairly, gives them free hand to operate. That's what Plateau State government is also saying. On page 40, abusive campaign, APC, PDP, LP trade blames. 2023, Dati Ahmed raises alarm over violation of peace accord. 260 million naira fraud, court jails ex-Guso, Varsity VC Professor Gaba, 35 years. You can see that story on page 6. On page 8, political violence, rein in your talks. NSA tells the governors. On page 6, 5 persons confirmed dead on Governor Fitirin's campaign convoy. On page 6, troop intercept of 15.5 million naira cash for terrorists, bandits, logistics being moved from Katsina to Zamfara. On page 8, 2023, blame Nigerians for its failures, not God. That's coming from Obasanjo. Some CBN, NPA, NCC, NIMASA staff earn salaries bigger than Buhari's. That's coming from RMAFC boss. Stories above. Aisha Buhari to testify against students over tweets. 2023, Oshomole Atiku Kowa campaign organization at war over presidential poll. Court jails Senator Akpan 42 years over corruption. On page 34, federal roads are death traps. That's coming from findings on page 19. Budget 2022, federal government releases 1.7 trillion naira for capital expenditure. You can see that on page 19. That's all we can take on the front page of the Vanguard. Let's move straight to the Guardian newspaper. The Guardian is leading with, again, Buhari accuses governors of stealing local government funds, slowing growth. The writer says the pledges to act on NIPSS report. Wike berate Agba over comments on governors fueling poverty. We are coming after your talks. NSA warns governors obstructing opposition campaign. On pages 4 and 5, critical surgeries, long queues of patients, shortage of consultants, pretends ill for public hospitals. We can see a photo story showing all of that. 2023, we don't want to be left behind. That is coming from 30 million PWDs. They tell INEC and also the candidates. Stories above. South Africa's President Ramaphosa may resign over crime scandal. Recurrent indecency of first ladies. Editorial page 16. APC admits Oyetola, others took away official vehicles after approval. Akwa Ibom YPP Guba candidate jailed 42 years for corruption. Alright, let's take a look at The Nation newspaper. The Nation is leading with federal government. We supported states with 5.03 trillion naira in 7 years. The writer says Nigeria not broke, not defaulting in debt repayment. We are trying to reduce poverty, says states. And what they got, 13% derivation, that's a 1.978 trillion naira. Paris Club refund, $2.67 billion. Ecological funds, 204 billion naira. COVID intervention, 50 billion naira. Federal road repair, 648 billion naira. Also, stories above. Court orders arrest of Chief of Staff of Army Staff Commandant. Tribunal rejects Adelike's WAEC GC certificates. You can see that story on page 27. GDP growth to close on positive note, says LCCI, 13% derivation. Attack me if you can, Wike dares colleagues. How governors misuse council fund by Buhari. Tinubu promises to industrialize Bayelsa. All right, let's take a look at the Punch newspaper. And the Punch is leading with federal allocations. Oil producing states borrow 1.3 trillion naira amid 6.4 trillion naira windfall. The writer says Pandef orders ask Niger Delta governors to showcase development projects. Oil producing states received a 1.9 trillion naira as derivation funds under Buhari. That's coming from the minister. 13% derivation includes DESPADEC funds, money judiciously spent, says Delta. Our stories below, we have Oyetola Adeleke disagree over a 76 billion naira unpaid salaries pension. On pages 4 and 5, cultists shoot ex-student dead in Yabatek, suspects nabbed. Aisha Nanza plans protest, trip knocks critics. Stories above. Governor stealing local government funds, says Buhari. Nudge backs president. Politicians behind attack on INEC facilities. That's coming from Jega. Stop using talks. NSA warns governors. Lastly, on the front pages, on the front page of the Punch newspaper, we have few queues grow longer after federal government sufficiency claim. And that's what we can take on the front pages of the papers this morning. Join us after the break. We'll be right back. Alright, welcome back. If you're just joining us today in the news on Vanguard Live, I am Precious Chukudi, and joining me to talk about some of the stories that we have on the front pages this morning is John Bosco Agbakuru. He's going to be telling us on giving us insight on some of these stories. Good morning, John Bosco. Can you hear me?
Yeah, good morning.
Yes. All right, please, I would like you to shed more light on this particular story, and that's the president accusing governors of looting local government's funds. Can you tell us more on that story?
Yeah, Mr. President, yesterday while delivering his speech, at an event hosted by members of the Senior Executive Course 44 of the NIPS, National Institute for Policy and Strategic Studies, at the presidential villa Abuja, expressed disappointment that governors really don't remit money they collect on behalf of local government to the local government administrations. The president even expressed surprise that a serving governor who is a lawyer that should know what the constitution says, when he collects allocation for local government, he remits only half of it. If he collects 100 million on behalf of the local government, he remits half of the money. And the thing is affecting smooth running of administrations in local government areas, especially in terms of development. The president, for a very long time, to be fair to him, has been championing, the issue of local government administration. Local government autonomy. The president has been calling the governors, even pleading with them to grant autonomy, to local government areas, because if there is development in local government areas, the people will stand to benefit. So Mr. President was not happy, and he said that such a thing, shows the kind of character and integrity of officials of government, who occupies positions in states. That what they are doing is affecting development.
All right, I would like you to shed more light on this personal experience that the president said, he involved an unnamed governor. Can you speak more to that?
Although Mr. President, did not, mention the name of the particular governor, but some states have this what they call the state local government joint account, where anyone that comes to local government passes through the state, and sometimes you discover that the state governors pay local government chairmen a kind of salary after knowing the number of staff, the number of workers in the local government. When they pay them, the state government will take the entire money. In fact, some local government chairmen are being paid as civil servants. They don't have access to the allocation for the state. The state governors decide on what to do with such money, and that, for Mr. President, is affecting development at the grassroots areas.
I would like to ask, why have there not been checks with these governors? If the president is so sure of these things that he's claiming, why have he not, why has he not really brought some of these governors to book or something?
We are Nigeria is the federation, where you have the state, the local government, the federal, the center, the federal, the center, the state, and the local governments. It is a matter of constitution. That's one of the reasons that there have been this clamor for a constitutional amendment. Some of these things are in the constitution, and the president does not have that authority, to decide on how a state governor, disburses or spends the money that is meant for states. I think the only solution to this is for the constitution to be amended to grant that autonomy to local government areas. That whatever resources that belongs to them must be given to them direct without interference from the state governors.
All right, let's move ahead and talk about this one. Now, the National Security Advisor, Major General Babagana, he has warned the state governors using talks to prevent opposition parties from mounting campaign materials in their domain. Please, I would like you to speak more to this story.
Yeah, the General Babagana and Munguno yesterday, while briefing the press after a meeting with Fabrice, he was not happy the way things are going on at this political time, especially as regards campaigns. Some governors act like emperors. They don't allow the opposition elements in their state to breathe. They don't even allow some of them to campaign. You remember that some time ago, some opposition parties instead, that wanted to do rally, the state governors refused to grant them a place to carry their campaigns. And also, the governors implement some of their actions by use of thoughts to chase away, intimidate, or harass opposition elements in the state. So, the National Security Advisor to the President yesterday said that Mr. President has directed that such anomaly must stop, and that the perpetrators, the thugs, must be dealt with because it does not help for the growth of democracy in the country.
All right, thank you so much, John Bosco, for your report. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
All right, moving on. Let's take this story, and that's Aisha Buhari to testify against students over tweet, and the wife of the president, Aisha Buhari, is to testify against a student of the Federal University of Technology, Dutse, in Jigawa State, Aminu Mohammed, who criticized her on Twitter. The student was remanded in prison on Wednesday after arraignment at the FCT High Court number 14 in Abuja for cyber stalking and defamation against the First Lady. Although Mohammed pleaded not guilty, he was still sent to the Suleja prisons without an option of bail. The 24-year-old, who hails from Bauchi State, was allegedly arrested on the orders of the First Lady a few days ago, sparking outrage amongst Nigerians, with many calling for his release. He had tweeted back in June in Hausa language that the First Lady was feeding fat on the poor people's money. The tweet was in Hausa, and he said Mama had fed on fat people's money. The 500-level student was picked up from his school 2 weeks ago and taken straight to the presidential villa, where he was allegedly brutalized, beaten, maltreated, and humiliated by the police suspected to be men from the Department of State Services, DSS. And recent information available shows that Aisha is among 5 witnesses assembled by the prosecution to testify against Mohammed in court, since the police alleging that the offense bordering on defamation and cyber stalking contravened Section 391 of the Penal Code. Now, the one count charge against the student marked date November 23rd read that you, Aminu Adamu Mohammed, male of Aguwa, Sarakuna, Bauchi State, sometime between May-June 2022, within the jurisdiction of the Honorable Court, did intentionally open a Twitter handle with the name Aminulai Catalyst and screenshot the image of Miss Aisha Buhari and wrote on it in Hausa language, obviously. But the story goes on, and I remember I took the story like about 2 days ago, where people were actually campaigning, and they were all, they were tweeting and saying that they wanted, hashtag free Aminu, they wanted the guy to be released. Only for yesterday, for people to now see that the guy had sometimes, made some, very bad tweets about Deborah, the girl who was killed, the girl who was killed, and he said a bunch of things about the girl and all those kind of things. And so people were, withdrawing from what they had earlier stated and said they didn't want anything, to be in accordance with whatever this guy is doing. Nobody was going to, they were not going to protest anymore for him. They wanted to just wash their hands off completely because of, they've seen that the guy is somebody who has his own, he's had his own, Waterloo too, in time past and stuff like that. And they are like, they do not want to be part and parcel of somebody whose hands is not clean. And for them, they are even saying, let the first lady deal with him. Let whatever they want to do to him, let them just do to him. And if this guy, could have said, all those things he said when Deborah was maimed and, when she was killed, and this guy deserves what he's getting. All right, let's take a look at Mr. and Mrs. Before we go, and it seems to be that Mr. is speaking today. He says, I was watching a crucial match when you called. So what's more important than the World Cup? And Mrs. replied, she said that the last cup of rice in the house. Well, that one is more important than the World Cup, because imagine not having food to eat and you're going to watch the World Cup. You'll come back with your empty belly. All right, so that's all we can take today on Today in the News. Remember that you can equally like, share, and subscribe on all our social media platforms showing on your screen. On Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, our WhatsApp number is also displayed there. To find out up-to-date stories, you can go to our website, www.vanguardngl.com, to find out more. I am Precious Chugudi. Make sure you have a fabulous weekend. Bye. Thank you for watching.